You had two big competitors, Microsoft and Yahoo. A year later, which is today, you've got something like 10 competitors, including Facebook, Twitter, Yelp. Extraordinarily popular with the younger set, basically consumers of the future. What do you do? What do you do if you're sitting in Palo Alto? How do you beat those guys, or how do you save those guys from eating your lunch?
Well, I think it's fair to think about, first of all, the digital economy is going to be a very, very big economy. It already is. It is going to get bigger. You pick the industry, right? If you look at advertising, it's about a $700 billion market. Roughly about $70 billion is now online. As audiences move to the online side, you'll see that $70 billion number start closing on the $700 billion, right? If you look at music, if you look at entertainment, if you look at newspapers, a lot of stuff is moving digitally. So I think it's going to be a very big market, and there will be many players in that market. So from that perspective, I don't think we're going to be the only player in the market who is going to be successful, and I wish all the other people a lot of success. In terms of your comment about competitors, we don't spend time worrying about competition. I think our biggest challenge is our own ability to execute. So what we focus on is let's go out and create amazing products which consumers are going to love. If you can create products that consumers are going to love, that's fine. That's what is most important. If you worry about what the other guy is doing, you end up defocusing, you end up trying to replicate them, or you end up trying to compete with them. So, the fascinating thing is our product managers, our engineers, they spend their time figuring out what's the next thing that you want, what's the next thing that I want, and if they can create that wow experience, then it doesn't really matter.
So what's the next thing do you guys have, which I'm going to say, wow?
There's lots of exciting stuff going on, right? I mean, Gmail came out of nowhere, and two guys sat down and said, I don't like the way all the email systems work in the world. And there were 300 email systems. Those guys said, I'm going to do it differently. And why do people have to delete their emails? Let's give them a gigabyte of storage, so they don't have to delete it. That was the basic premise on which Gmail was born. We were on a plane with the founders one day, and they said, the world's maps are very static. Why don't they get updated quickly? And then we were flying in a plane and said, what if we flew a plane crisscross over the entire country? It would take 6 months, and we'd get much better data and much better pictures. And let's provide people both a visual perspective and a cartographic perspective. And suddenly, Google Maps is now probably the most popular mapping software we see in most countries in the world. So, we sit down and think of large technological problems of scale and say, how do we solve it? I'm personally very excited about all the work that's going on mobile phones and Android. I'm very excited about our stuff that is going on in browsing, the Chrome browser, the Chrome operating system. So it's very fascinating.
Mobile phones is interesting because you have invaded a space where the iPhone is very dominant. And at one point in time, there was a great partnership, or potential of a great partnership between Apple and Google. And now, with your Android mobile phone, Apple is upset that it's not kosher. So,
I think if you think about the future, and if you believe that the world is getting more and more technologically aligned, you are going to see many players in the technology space both compete and collaborate. So there will be places where we will have competing products, and there will be places we'll work together. So Apple still uses a lot of Google search. We still use our iPhones. We love. We still use a bunch of Macs. So I think there is going to be lots of areas of competition and collaboration. They have a different model around mobile phones. We have a different one. And our view is we should provide an open source operating system that allows more people to develop lots and lots of cool things as opposed to just us having to do them. And that's why there are 20 different Android devices out there which are being built by different people and sold by different people. Theirs is a different model. So, at the end of the day, consumer will decide.
I want to talk a little bit about Buzz.
Yes.
And this, truthfully, I don't understand Buzz. I love Gmail, and I chat all the time. But Buzz foxes me. And then there are privacy issues when it comes to Buzz. What happened?
Buzz is a social networking platform which is around the notion of sharing, clearly. Facebook is a social networking platform. Buzz is a social networking platform. There are many others out there. It's around the notion of sharing. And our view is that something like Buzz allows people to dynamically come together on a certain topic and then sort of congregate and leave and come back on a different topic. So it's sort of a more dynamic model from a social networking perspective. And it's just in its very, very early version. It's just been launched.
It's going to change.
It's going to constantly evolve. Things in the technology. Our philosophy is launch early, launch often. So we keep changing things as we get more and more consumer feedback. I think the challenge we ran into with Buzz was we just sort of, in our launch early, launch often philosophy, we ended up not checking on one or two things. And we very quickly fixed it. We fixed it in 24 hours. So, the issue, there was nothing going on from a privacy perspective. It was just that some of the choices were not evident as clearly to consumers as we would have liked them to, and we fixed that in 24 hours.
There's a very important FCC announcement coming up, I guess, in the next 24 hours. What do you expect from that, and how will it change business opportunities for Google?
Look, bandwidth is a good thing. So the FCC is going to announce their national broadband plan very shortly, and we've already announced that we're going to work with 2 cities in the United States to provide 1 gigabit access to the users, which is 250 times the national average of the U.S.
And no names of the cities.
We haven't decided the names. We haven't decided. I think what's fascinating to watch, actually, cities are competing with each other to get our attention, which is great. Our view towards doing that is if we can prove it in 1 or 2 markets at a reasonable, cost-effective sort of ratio, there's a probability that that will spur other people to do it or spur the existing players to do it, which is going to be fantastic, right? Because at the end of the day, sort of technology is fascinating. If you look at the development of computing power, if you look at the development of storage, it's just doubled every year. So, what you can buy today on an Android phone, you needed $30 million of service 25 years ago to produce that same computing capacity. So you can buy it for $500. So over 25 years, what would take us $30 million in 6 months to integrate has been done on a chip, which we can buy today for $500. So just look at the pace of innovation. So I'm pretty sure if we can provide broadband access to people, we'll find phenomenal applications in the future, which we just haven't thought of. I think that's why it just makes sense for that to happen. And as a part of this, we hope we'll become the catalyst to get other people to try and do the same thing.
And that experience coming to me in Bombay.
I think we go back to the beginning of our conversation. We need help on infrastructure.
That will come, right?
I'm pretty sure. Look, just talking to the people in the last 2 or 3 days I've been here, there is tremendous optimism, there's tremendous hope, there's tremendous sort of commitment from various players that they want to be in that space. And with many different, I think the good news is in India you're seeing competition. And competition is always a good thing, because when you have competition, people will compete for the attention of the consumers with better, faster services.
Early this month at a tech expo in Santa Clara, California, Steve Ballmer was asked if Microsoft will ever be the #1 search engine. And he said, yeah, especially with Bing becoming Yahoo's search engine. Does that keep you up at night?
I think you can never underestimate wonderful companies like Microsoft. They have been the mainstay of technology for many, many, many years. I think many of us grew up using many of their products. So I think, clearly they're trying to focus and put their attention on trying to compete in the search space. But from our perspective, again, as I said, we're focused on the consumer. If we believe, a lot of people use Google, hopefully around the world, in India as well, and we believe if we continue to focus on getting them great services, we will give them less and less of a reason to leave us and go search elsewhere. But having said that, we're 1 click away from competition.
Facebook, another extraordinarily popular, not just in India.
It's very popular globally. I use it.
I use it all the time.
Fantastic.
I know it's kind of a silly question. Would you ever buy Facebook? Would you ever acquire Facebook? But, is that conceivable?
I don't think anybody would let us, even if we wanted to. And I think, as I said to you earlier,